basically, is my screen sharing? Can everyone see my screen? Yeah, okay,
yeah.
Hopefully. So basically, we're just gonna go through the steps of like collaging, which you can use in like 3D views, sections, elevations, plans, anything really, and just like the main steps that go into like making an image like this. And you can use them in any of your drawings, any of your images and stuff like that. It's just quite useful to know.
I'm going to sketch first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So first, if you've got a 3D model, you can just go into like whatever software you've used to make it. You want to enable shadows, and most of the software will have like
most people will be using
in.
SketchUp anyway, right?
I imagine SketchUp. Yeah. Or whatever you've got will have a viewport of shadows, or you might have drawn your drawing. But assuming you're in SketchUp, and then everything else will be a very similar idea. You just go export it as a 2D graphic, and that will just be a picture. So you'll want that as either a DWG or a PDF, and that will just let you actually change the lines if you wanted to in like Illustrator or something.
Yeah.
So we've already done it as a PDF.
So we need to export it.
So we don't need to export it, but you would.
Yeah.
As long as you've got shadows though, that's all you really want to. Or you can always draw them in Photoshop.
It's pretty, that first step's pretty simple. And then once you have your image, let me unhide all of these layers. So once you import your image, it'll look something like that. Our one is from a renderer, so it looks a bit different from the SketchUp version, but it's the same general principle. As long as you have the basic like skeleton of your building and the shadows, it'll
Even
if
if
work.
you don't have the shadows, you can draw them in.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you can, as long as you know where the sun's coming from, you can draw in shadows pretty easily.
Do you want to draw shadows in?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you were going to draw shadows in, you know where your sun is. You can just go onto another layer, just hit L or go to the lasso, and you can start clicking, and then just like if we wanted a shadow there, if you hold Shift, it will go straight. Say we wanted that, and then we could just press G and just fill it in with black if I actually had black.
Yeah. So it's just the lasso tool and the paint bucket tool.
It's like that.
And then if you make the opacity of that layer to 30%.
Yeah.
And then, you have a good enough shadow there. So you don't actually need a renderer. It's just a lot easier in a renderer.
And then you to always tidy that up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, also, if anyone wants to ask questions, you can ask them in the. If anyone wants to ask questions, you can turn your mic off or ask in the chat.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, we're just gonna ask. We'll answer them on the go.
Yeah.
Okay. So after you brought in your image from SketchUp or wherever, you want to put it in like a setting. So so you start with like a sky color, which for this is just a gradient. It's a pretty standard. So what you have to do is you have to select two colors in the color picker. So like, a white and a blue works pretty well. And you hold down the paint bucket tool, you go to the gradient tool, you can zoom out a bit. And it's just something to have a background to your image that you'll obviously collage on top later.
It's just a base layer.
In there. Yeah, it's just a base layer. And then once you have that, you add.
I mean, if you want to change the gradient, it's all up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which might as well mention. So if you click on that, you've got the two colours you've got there, so you can change. And then you can always change sort of where it gradiates.
Yeah.
So you can see as I change that, the white moves up and down.
Yeah, you just have to play around with it.
So yeah, there's presets as well. So if you wanted more like, I don't know, a sunset, something you could use, I don't know, an orange or a pink, something.
Yeah.
Glass of there. And that.
Or
you
you
could
could
just do
you add like the surroundings next or the building textures?
No, it'll be building text, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then once you want to add
Materials.
yeah, materials to your building, which is obviously like the most important part.
Yeah.
You use this thing called layer masks. So just to add them on, you know, it's basically flat images that you get from the internet that you cut out different parts of to make textures, basically.
So if you go on the internet, if it loads, you can then start to type in, I don't know, what you want. Wood?
Yeah, you can type in a wood texture.
Is that screenshot?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
Okay.
When you just type in like whatever material you want and then texture, you'll end up getting something like this.
Guys, there's a good website called textures.com, which has got lots of cool textures.
Yeah.
There's websites there.
There's places you can get,
places like Pinterest will have like a load more websites somewhere.
I got all my textures from Pinterest. It's literally, there's so many. Pinterest is a godsend.
So if you copy them in, usually there'll be a square or a rectangle.
Yeah.
And then you can start pasting them. So if you hold
Alt and then drag
you can just drag a copy.
And it'll paste it onto different layers.
So it'll paste it onto a different layer. But if you carry on, so say you did 4 of those.
Yeah. Say you wanted 4.
Yeah, and just select all of those layers that you've got.
And then if you right click and then go to
merge layers.
Merge layers there.
And then that just will give you one bigger texture as one layer on its own.
Yeah, and then you can multiply that one again if you need to be bigger. And then merge them together again if you need to. And then the next step would be to cover it. Yeah, the next step would be to cover it onto the surface you want to be textured, and then you start using layer masks, which we're going to show now. You want to show?
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
So we've used this material in a minute.
So we've basically done what we just said, just with this other wood.
We've got this wood veneer. Once you've got that, you'll want to hit this little one down here, and that will give you. Shall I do it on another document?
Yeah.
So if I do it on this second version we've got, and I'll hide
we can like we can mess up without messing up the whole thing. Yeah.
So we go back to there we go. So here's the house. So if I delete that mask, okay. There we go. So there we've got that. If we click the mask button down here, so it's a little rectangle with a black circle in the middle, just add a layer mask. If you then fill that in with a black, so a layer mask is effectively another layer on top of your main layer, and whatever you paint black will be hidden, whatever you paint white on that mask will show.
Through,
so it's a way of, you might have before just like selected things and then used the eraser or deleted it. That you won't ever be able to get back onto the layer. So layer masks are a nice way of keeping it there. So if you wanted to, you can always paste it back. I'll show you that.
Yeah.
So if we then go to our fill, we fill the whole layer in black. You've got gradient.
Yeah.
You fill the whole thing in black, everything disappears. We bring our house back. We then switch with Shift X, and you'll see we've now switched to white.
White is selected, yeah.
If you then use the lasso, you can start to say we want wood. Where do we want wood?
So you want wood in this like square here.
Okay, so we want wood there. We can just lasso around here. And then fill that in white, and you'll see it appears there.
Yeah.
But say I now only want half of that panel, or I want more, say I want this extra square here or rectangle to be wood as well. If I had erased it, I wouldn't be able to. But
you'd have to copy and paste and then reshape the piece. It's not,
you'd have to copy it. It's a nightmare. But if you use layer masks, you'll see I can then start to paint it back in or fill it back in. And that's all on the same layer. It's just masking, hiding and unhiding different bits.
And then you'll see once you copy it over and you do the layer mask and everything, the shadows, you see the shadows won't carry over because your picture will start looking a bit flat. What you want to do to fix that is up here in the blending options, you can go to multiply sometimes works, or you can use overlay as well, which will keep the colors and will just bring through the shadows, which is pretty cool. And that's how you add textures and bring the shadows through as well. And that's what we've done here. Quickly enable the layer mask again, and then
so you can see we've gone and actually cut around everything and masked it.
We've cut out different bits, masked them up, and with this material as well. So you can do it. Right? Oh yeah, and we've done it the same with this other marble material as well.
So it's the same idea.
Yeah, it's the same basic principle, and this makes it really easy if you wanted to. If I wanted to, like, I don't know, if I wanted this to be wood instead of marble, I could just unlink them and then change out the image. Although I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, so you'll notice on these, there's a little chain, a little link. That means that if you were to move them, you'll notice that the mask moves with the material. So you can see it's cut out. If we were to unlink them, it'll mean the mask will stay where it is, and you just move the material.
So if you have like a more detailed image underneath, then you can move the layer underneath around, and only the bits above will show through.
So you can then copy this layer mask and move it wherever you want, like any other normal layer. So if you wanted to say, I don't know, change this marble to...
You just swap these around.
Yeah, so we can swap these around. So say we wanted to switch these, we can just move the masks, although that's going to replace it, but you'll notice we then hide that. There you go. So you've switched them over.
So they're switched over pretty much, yeah.
So you move the masks wherever you want, and it will still carry over.
Yeah, and it makes it a lot easier, and it makes it so that you don't have to, if you make a mistake or you want something different, you don't have to go back completely on yourself, or you don't have to delete things and bring them back. It's a better way of working, I think.
It's hiding and unhiding rather than deleting it.
Yeah. So I think we've pretty much. Does anyone have any questions about that specific part before we move on, or no? Okay.
No.
Okay. Probably the background or the foreground, actually.
The foreground. We'll do background. We'll do background.
Ground, yeah. So once you have the materials on your building, you want to put it into context, which is where you do something like this. This is again using the same kind of principle of layer mask, just a bit more detailed. So in this image, I've brought over an image I found of just a picture of a building that I found on like Park Daily or Disney or something like that. It was important that it's from the same perspective angle that the render is from. And you literally just want to, I masked out everything except for the grass, which gave me this. And then just to add more depth to the image, because if I had just added in the actual grass image, it would have been flat. I think I painted over it, so I can't really show you.
If you were to, if we go into the other one, then we can muck it up.
Yeah.
And we bring in the ground. So what we've done is we've just got this image like Ryan said. We've then, we might as well, if we delete the layer mask, I'll just do it again. So we've added a layer mask. We've then essentially cropped out the grass, essentially, haven't we?
Yeah.
So we've just selected the grass. So something like, we can just
you can just go do the bottom grass.
So if we just do that and then
No.
Oh, right. So you can see if you just crop out the grass and we want it, a good tip to do is like I did before. If
Yeah, obviously we don't want grass covering like the porch part.
we just hide everything and then crop around where we want grass, so which will be around here.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. And then we. Yeah.
Oh.
That. So if you do something like that,
There you go.
You'll notice you've just got it flat. So I mean, it looks like you've got
you can do
grass
that.
there, but it looks very flat. It looks like it's just been layered over top.
Yeah.
So you don't have to just fill things on your layer mask. You can use the brush. As long as it's black or white, it will work, which means we can then start to use brushes that look like grass. And you can, again, download these just off the internet. Just type in, like, Photoshop brushes.
Yeah. And, yeah. Or you can make your own brushes. That's a bit more complicated, but there'll definitely be some.
There's tutorials
you can download.
You can see if we then paint in, we're now painting in grass-shaped grass. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which just makes it look like the grass is butted up to that concrete slab.
Yeah, which just makes it look more. It just makes it look like it's more in there.
You can see
pretty much.
That's roughly what you do, and then
Yeah.
you can see we've been a lot more careful and gone around it properly. But,
yeah. And another thing you can do is do that exact same process except on a new layer, but with black paints and like lower the opacity so you get shadows on it. And that's just a small amount of detail, but I think it adds quite a bit.
It's
to just the more times you go over adding shadows and adding different like imperfections, the more real the final result will look.
So that's a good point, because you'll notice in real life you get what are called contact shadows. So like if you've got your phone on the desk, you notice there's a small shadow around it.
Yeah.
And that is what that is. So anywhere something's like touching,
Something
you'll want
else,
a small shadow, and it will just.
Unless there's light shining directly onto it, there will be shadows.
Yeah. So contact shadows will make stuff generally look a lot better.
Yeah, literally. The next part of the foreground would be the water. So water by itself is the same deal. You find an image of water and you just mask out, or a texture, and just multiply it over and mask out where you want there to be water. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then just again to make the water look like it's more actually no, we'll say that at the end because it makes a lot more sense at the end.
All right.
Yeah, so the same deal with adding water or anything else to do with the foreground or the background. You just want to add things.
It's the same idea as grass. It's
same process over and over again. That's the reflection.
You might as well do background.
Yes.
Do background and foreground. So then, at the moment, we've just got a fairly blue background bit boring.
Yeah.
But you'll want to add sort of foliage and like.
Yeah, and this is pretty much this is the easiest part.
Yeah.
So basically, all we've done is literally gone to Pinterest and typed in like pictures of plants and just layered them on top of each other.
You can do that really how you want. I would say go on Pinterest and look at like reference.
Yeah, look at reference images.
Like look at styles that you like, because it will decide what sort of images you use, whether you want to make it look more realistic, whether you want to sort of funk it up, make it look more stylized.
Yeah, literally whatever you want to do.
We've just sort of mucked around with the like hue, saturation, contrast, all that sort of stuff, which is fairly simple. You can just go into edit and then there's auto contrast, auto color and stuff if you wanted to. Yeah. Just on your pictures.
You can even do it right now. So if I've just found this picture just then on Google that works, and just remove the background and you can just place it in there. if you click Control U, that's a very helpful shortcut. That brings up the hue and saturation. So it's right now it's kind of too bright. It's kind of taking away from everything. So I can turn the saturation down, so it
goes more in with the
fits.
theme you got.
Yeah, it fits with this plan more. I can change if I want it to be a pink plant for some reason. I can do that.
But a lot of this is up to you, really, just style, what you
it's
like.
Personal preference.
Find what you like.
Exactly. Yeah. Just leave that there because it looks awesome.
Do it. Another thing to bear in mind is where you've got your shadows from somewhere else. If you're going to put a sun somewhere, put it where it should be. Don't just put it wherever you think looks pretty, because otherwise it's going to sort of stick out.
It doesn't so much matter if your drawing is a little bit more like unrealistic. If you come from more like a stylized thing, it doesn't really matter where the sun is, as long as you're showing what you want to be shown. But if you're going for like a realistic render, and the sun is like
it's worth keeping in mind.
If your sun is like over here, and all the shadows are going this way, that doesn't really make sense. It
starts to sort of stand out.
Yeah. So
it's something to bear in mind.
Yeah. That's it for the background, I think.
So it's like anything really that you make, that you're going to have a background, you're going to have a foreground. It's going to help you sort of sell it, and it will help you hide your mistakes.
Yeah.
So we're not going to put a foreground on.
Yeah. Foreground. So that's literally just it's useful to have things just coming off, like coming in from out of frame. It just kind of makes your render feel more
like it's got depth.
Yeah, it just gives it a bit more depth, to be honest. And then another thing which I'll mention real quick to give it a bit more depth is this reflection. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little reflection in the window of this plant. So all I've done basically, it's the same thing. All I've done basically is taken this, copied it and pasted it in, made it smaller. If you click Control T, you can transform stuff. Most people should know that already, I think. Made it smaller, put it in the window, and then lower the opacity. Oh my gosh.
Just, you know what's funny thing?
Oh, I was like,
what? When people can actually see it, you have to. There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So now you can see it. If you just lower the opacity.
Something's wrong.
Is your number on?
Yeah. Yeah, my number lock is on. If you lower the opacity like 10 or 20, then it's just a reflection, and it looks you don't really notice it at first, but like your brain knows it when you're looking at it.
It helps.
It helps with
rather for your glass. It will help.
Yeah.
Have a reflection.
Foreground, background are pretty much the same.
It's the same idea. Really.
Yeah. Vines.
Yeah. Do you vine?
So another more like, I guess, advanced way.
It's similar to the grass. Really.
Yeah, to use the layer mask is to actually paint things in. So what's happening here is you've done exactly what's gone on before.
And do it on
the other one?
And do it in fresh stuff then. Not just paint fine.
Okay, I'll just paint first. Yeah. So exactly what's gone on before with the wood and stuff. So it's basically this huge picture of just leaves basically. And then you mask everything out. So you turn the whole mask black, as James is going to show, and then you paint out the leaves.
So
let me open up that.
So if we take our green or leaves or whatever it is, and just paste it in, and I will delete the layer mask. So it's another brush that comes in handy to have, is just a leaf brush. So if we mask it, go G again, and paint the whole thing black, and now we can just go ahead and paint whatever we want in. So we're painting in white, because that's what we'll show. If we change it to a leaf brush, and I have that one, and then you can just start to paint, and you'll see, it's probably this smaller.
Yeah, leaves aren't that big.
No, but you can see it. You can see now you can start to paint like vines, and if you wanted to, you could just do single leaves, like I don't know, an autumn scene or something.
If you have like leaves falling from the sky or something,
You
can
can
work with
start to
anything.
do some interesting
Snowflakes,
It's a
whatever
nice-
you want.
It's a quick way to get a lot of leaves, because I mean, if you zoom in, you'll notice it's many leaves in one, but
It's
from any
it's
distance,
much easier than like copy and pasting
a
a
leaf.
million leaves over and over again.
And
And then you can change, like say you want vine, like an hour in, you're like, oh, I don't want vines here. You can
change it so you can mask out things, you can add them. So again, like if it's black, you'll see it will mask
go
out.
away.
If it's white, it will show. And that's all showing from the layer that the mask is on.
Yeah.
So whatever you have on the layer, whatever you mask will be masked. Whatever's not hidden will not be
It's
hidden.
kind of hard to explain, but it's really easy to use.
It's like if you had a bit of paper with a drawing on, and you had another bit of paper that you would cut bits out.
yeah,
It's literally just a mask.
yeah. That's literally
That's
how it
all it
works.
is.
That's the most simple explanation.
And then another nice thing is if you want vines, you can just open up another layer, get a normal brush, make it smaller, go to a green, I don't know,
Green or black or whatever. Just any dark color.
like that, and then literally just by, I have my brush. Literally just by like drawing in lines, it looks a bit.
It's a bit
weird.
It's a bit thick, but
I mean that's a bit thick, but if you zoom out, it can look like that.
yeah. Yeah. That's basically that's the shadows.
And then similar idea with the contact shadows on the grass. If you literally copy it and make it black, and then sort of shift it,
Yeah.
it just gives it a bit more depth. So if you switch that on and off,
Yeah.
you'll notice.
So basically what I've done is I've copy and pasted this layer and just made the entire layer black. So you click Control U and turn the lightness all the way down, and that'll make it black.
It's just a quick way rather than trying to fill it.
Yeah.
It's just
And
an
it just
easy way to make shadows.
it brings it into the scene more. But that's how you add things like vines, the things that you that's
just another way to use masks, isn't it, that you might not have
Yeah.
thought of.
And then the final part would be to put people in there, because you do architecture and
people
they're always asking for people in the images. Oh yeah. Yeah. So basically putting people in there is pretty simple.
If you search for like tend to get you a lot better results than just trying to search for people.
Yeah.
Because
So if I
cutouts
search
will be
for, like,
PNGs.
Person cutouts on Google, and I find oh yeah. So I search person cutout on
You'll
Google,
notice they're the sort of style you want.
and I find this guy shaking nobody's hand. You can put him in there, and then delete his background, and then scale him to fit. Yeah, he's behind everything. He'll be. There you go.
You might want to muck around with contrast, saturation, again, like with everything, just to make it look like it fits in.
With the scale and stuff. Yeah, that's
I mean,
fine.
we've got Instagram, haven't we?
Yeah, I've got Facebook and Instagram. We're in the architecture, the BA2 group chat.
Yeah.
Can we possibly explain the last thing? Yeah, we'll go over that at the end.
Yeah.
Don't worry if you're still here. Hopefully.
It's usually bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So once you've brought this. What? Yeah, do it again.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, yeah. So once you brought this person in, and obviously he looks like he doesn't really belong there because of the lighting and stuff is all wrong. So what you can do, one thing that helps a lot, is if you copy and paste him and put him like there, and then you can put a version of him. Yeah, you can show that because I didn't know how to do that. So if you click Control T to
You'll
transform.
explain what you're doing.
Yeah, I did it way too fast just now.
What Ryan's doing is putting shadows in.
Yes,
for
this is
people.
shadows.
This is a shadow for this person.
Yeah. So basically, you hit Control T, and then you hold Control and grab onto the nodes or whatever they're called.
Like the anchor points.
Yeah, and you basically drag him in perspective onto the ground, which is where his shadow would be.
That's not going to be a shadow, though, is it?
Why?
Okay.
Yeah. Which would be around there. And then Control U again to bring up the hue and saturation, turn the lightness all the way down, and then turn the opacity for this layer to
30.
30 works most of the time. And then
you'll notice this.
Oh. Sorry?
Just one corner of the character down. After you click Control T to transform. What else did you do to transform?
After you do Control T, you hit Control, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Let me go back a few steps.
Or if you show it in Edit, because it's in Edit, transform that as well.
Okay. Well, so
you can show it in that panel as well.
No, I'm not using this.
Oh, you're not.
Yeah, so if you just hit Control T, and then while you're grabbing onto these nodes, if you hold down Control, and then, so if I don't hold down Control, it'll just change the size of him, right? But if I hold down Control, I can actually edit where these individual things are going.
You can skew them.
Yeah. And then in doing that allows you to kind of put the perspective points, like put him into perspective. Yeah, put him flat on the ground basically. And then, like I was saying, you put the lightness all the way down and opacity to 30. And then you can go filter and add a Gaussian blur. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know.
It will just soften up the edges.
Yeah, it will make it so the shadow's not as
crisp,
crazy
like
looking.
sharp.
I don't know why it's taking so long.
I don't know, you're breaking the computer.
Man, we're just gonna wait for Photoshop to apply the blur. Oh yeah, edit, transform, warp. Yeah, thanks Ben. That's I didn't even know how to do that. All I knew was how to do the other thing.
Your computer. I mean, hopefully you'll be able to apply it.
Okay. Or you can just click this teardrop tool right here is the blur tool. If you put the strength pretty low down, you can just
Gaussian blurs generally better, like so just do the edges for you, so you won't have to go around and sort of trace it.
And then if he still doesn't look right, like he's not in the scene properly, you can click on him, on his layer, and then take a black brush and a white brush, and then up here there'll be a default brush setting for a really like soft one, and put it quite big in relation to where he's at. Another tip as well. So if you want to select something without having to trace all around it, you can draw a box around whatever you want to select, and then just try and move it a little bit. So I'll show that again. So you put a selection box around whatever you want to have the exact like contour of, and then you try and move it a little. Just it doesn't have to be much. You can click one of the arrow keys if you want to, and it will basically
guess.
Yeah, it'll guess, and most of the time Photoshop gets it right. And then if I want to bring him into the scene a bit more, you can just add highlights. You put the opacity down. So, that's fine. Down to like 20, and you can just make him brighter on one side. It takes a lot of time. It's hard to do it very quickly. Make
Or
them
you
darker
can just
on this
find
side.
cutouts that are from the rough lighting that you need.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Usually when you're looking for cutouts,
You can see the other ones, don't you?
Yeah,
so
the
like
other
the
ones
guy
are
in
fine.
the pool, you've
This
got a
dude.
highlight on his left.
yeah, exactly. And this
Like
this
where our
this,
sun is.
this lady chilling in here,
Same with the one.
she's got highlights on her side or whatever. We can take this dude away. He doesn't fit.
He doesn't.
He's not on holiday like these people. Oh, sorry. What was the last thing I did? What did I click on? Which step? Sorry. Yeah, let me go back.
I think it was the walk bit when you were doing the.
No, the shadow.
you
The
just
shadow
go
blur.
filter,
So filter,
blur,
blur,
and then Gaussian blur,
Gaussian blur.
and that will bring up something like that.
Bring up-
Usually sort of 3 to 5 is what
3,
I
yeah.
would use, but it's just see what happens and what works.
Yeah, it's blurred this guy right now, but
But you can see it's blurred around the edges.
yeah,
But I mean, while she's done that, that's quite cool. If you go cancel, so say you wanted that guy to be running super fast, you could always apply a motion blur,
yeah,
which is something that, I mean, we weren't going to say, but I mean, you've
Yeah.
done it.
yeah. You might as well do it.
If you go filter blur and
You go
then
motion
motion
blur.
blur,
Because you see some architectural drawings have
it's-
this guy's going super fast.
you'll see.
Some drawings have those like blurred people, so you can go filter.
Just go filter blur,
Blur,
motion,
motion
blur, and
blur.
then on.
Yeah, go on.
So this will do how much the blur is. You can see if we do it loads, he goes.
he's just not there
He's
anymore.
absolutely a blur. Usually you don't do it too much, but you can sort of make them look like they're walking or running. And then this bit here, you can then spin around or type the number in or actually change where the motion is.
Yeah.
So like if we wanted him flying, we would do 90, and he's now
Going upwards.
sort of jumping, but you probably never want that.
Yeah.
But like that's something.
If you have
to bear
someone
in mind.
like walking up and down the stairs, it works pretty well.
So you can do like diagonal like that.
Yeah.
So you might be walking into the pole for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But that's something you can do.
He's out here handshaking.
I'm shaking the pole.
Yeah. Is that?
And then you just want to do reflections in the water, really.
Yeah. Basically, that's.
Which is pretty much the same as what we did in the window. But
Yeah. So the final thing you might want to do, just to make everything look nice. Where is it? Foreground.
Is it in foreground? No. it's
No.
not. Where did you put it? This is why you should organise your layers.
Mm-hmm. I don't organize
There
my
you go.
layers.
Well, I mean, we have now. But
So, yeah, just add a big reflection
you've
of
got
everything in
water,
between. If you've got water, obviously.
you'll want to reflect the whole thing.
Yeah.
So if you go and select all the layers of like the building and everything that would be reflected, select it, press Control J,
I'll just
that'll,
do it right now.
or just do it. If you
I'll do it on the
go on,
messy
do it
one.
on that one.
I'll do it on the rubbish one. It's not rubbish.
Right. So if you select all the layers you want, so for example, Ryan will select what the building, the grass, and pretty much everything that would be reflected.
Yeah.
He will select it.
You can just select everything except for the sky. Sky doesn't need to be reflected.
You select it, press Control J, that will copy all your layers, or the ones you've selected. If you then merge them, so you can see
So
now they've all
Control J.
got copied.
Copies
So then
everything.
right click,
If you right click on
and then merge layers.
merge layers, that turns it into one flat image.
Because this one we're not going to be editing again.
Yeah. So now you have
So-
to you can press Control T again to transform it. And then you right click and then you flip it vertically. That'll bring it like that. And if you
then
move
layer
it
mask
down,
it.
oh yeah.
So
So
just move it down to
um
where the water.
it doesn't matter if you cut this one, but we'll layer mask it this. So might as well. Oop. So where things that are reflecting are probably going to be about there.
Well, no, just paint it black. So another layer mask. So if we paint the whole thing black and we hide everything, oh, you've got it as white. Then everything's hidden. If we now go L and we just know we want it in the water,
Oh yeah, true.
so we can just go and select that, make that white so it shows, it's white shows. And then if we unlink them, it means we can move this layer
We can move
until
it
it
down
looks
to
right.
where it's reflected.
So it would be something like that.
Yeah. Probably in line to the right of it.
Like that.
Yeah.
So something like that.
And then obviously because the water isn't a mirror, you can make it like 50%
Probably less than that.
or 30% opacity. And then you've got
There's a reflection.
a reflection. Ooh. Yeah, and that's pretty much it.
And then you can do the same thing for like the guy in the pool.
Yeah.
But
Obviously your people,
your people will be independent.
it's the same as doing shadows, just doing a reflection basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's about it, isn't it, really?
That's about it. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask.
Either pipe up or put it in the chat.
We did go really quickly, I think, at some points. Also, we're gonna put.
Should we put our Instagram?
Yeah.
So we've got like architecture Instagrams where we post all this stuff. So it's probably best if you want to ask questions later. Well,
Yeah.
it's just there.
Yeah, you can message us on
So
there.
mine is, and then yours is.
Oh. There you go. So you can message us on there. Yeah.
Sorry, can you guys go through what a mask is again in like how to create one?
Yeah. You can do it.
Should we take a different photo?
Yeah.
You got a photo of you on the computer?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just go back on.
Should we just get
Just get a photo of.
what photo?
I don't know, Julie. What
photo do you want?
to?
Otherwise, I'm going to screenshot your face. I just
I'll just go for like a nice building.
Just type in architecture.
Nice.
New.
Just a tower.
Ryan's history is kind of sus.
Nice building.
Images. So is that nice enough?
That's a pretty nice building.
I'd say that's quite nice. So if we copy that and we go into Photoshop, so we have this picture
of a pretty nice building.
So of a fairly nice building. So now say we wanted just the nice building, we don't want the background.
Yeah, we don't want to.
So you could just, I don't know, this is going to be a very poor job, but you could go round and cut it out, which is what people might do. So say we did, I don't know, that. So we want to cut this out. You might just do that and then go Control Shift I, which inverses it, and then just go delete. Now that means your layer is just that. You can't get that back. I mean, you could go Control Z and you could get it back. But imagine you went further and then you decided, oh, I want the background back. You've got to go and get this image, which starts to get really difficult if you've then mucked around with like saturation and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas if you mask it, you're not deleting it, you're just hiding it. So if we go down to here for the mask and we wanted to do the same thing, we would go and cut it out. So like, that is awful.
Come on, James.
Ryan,
You can be better than this.
so say we want to cut it out. We would then do that, go Control Shift I again, and that will do the inverse. Then you can either use the brush to paint, or you can use G, which is just the paint bucket. Anything black will be hidden on this layer mask here. Anything white will show.
Yeah, so it's important to remember when you're drawing on the layer mask, you're not drawing. If I have the mouse. When you're drawing on the layer mask, you're not drawing on this
your picture.
You're drawing on this like sub layer or whatever you call it.
So it just uses black and white to differentiate.
Yeah.
It's not going to be on your picture.
Yeah.
So if you then went and filled this, so you'll see if I go here, if I had a brush in, I don't know, green, or that is purple, you'll see I've got purple and white, but as soon as I go to the layer mask, it switches to black and white.
Because it can only do black and white.
It's just like on or off, hidden or shown.
Yeah.
So you'll see if I now go G, and we go Shift X, because that will flip them. We then go black. Black is now hidden, and you can see over here, that's quite a simple way of looking at that. Is just the mask.
Yeah.
So the black is
black
hidden,
is hidden.
the
white's
white
what
is
is
shown,
showing.
which is what you can see here.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is, if we then went and said, oh, well, now I want, I don't know, something, whatever building was over here, we can just go to the brush, say, paint that in white, and it will show.
The opacities. So if you have the opacity down a bit, if you have the opacity down a bit, it will paint
It will
like,
show.
It will show. Yeah. There you
So
go.
it's just hiding and showing. So it's non-destructive.
Yeah.
Whereas if you erased it, it would be
gone forever, and you have to go back, and it's just
you
not
would probably
fun.
be upset.
It's not a good time.
It's not a
to
good
be
time.
honest.
So masks are what you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, just playing around with it and you'll get the hang of it. It's literally just hiding it.
We can link a lot of useful YouTube channels and YouTube videos as well. In the
It doesn't even have to be architecture, sort of
No.
mask and stuff. But
Yeah.
another thing to bear in mind is this link button. So that either links the layer mask to your normal layer, and they will move together and scale together and just like transform together. Sometimes it can be helpful to unlink them, and then that means you could move your image around or your mask around and it will stay the same shape. So sometimes that might be helpful.
yeah, if you want like a specific pattern over like a bunch of different backgrounds,
Yeah.
then that would probably help.
But I hope that
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Anyone else have any questions? Or doesn't look like it.
We've got like 10 minutes to 10 hours.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got
Yeah.
any questions in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's,
We've gone for almost an hour.
yeah.
Jeez.
Hey, guys.
Thanks, guys. That was really good.
Sorry.
No worries. I was just asked, can you post the YouTube channels?
Oh, that's the past one, isn't it, Ben?
Yes.
Right.
When we
Oh,
post-
one.
I think.
I
when we-
think, yeah, we can post it on the Instagram, right?
Yeah, and Facebook and Twitter,
Yeah, exactly.
everything.
But like, Photoshop channels are helpful. It's literally just,
Yeah, we'll link them.
Yeah.
We'll put like a past Instagram story
Yeah.
up or something like that with all the helpful channels and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's a good one. This one.
Yeah, yeah, that one's
upstairs
good.
is
That one's sick.
Nice. Yeah, this will be recorded as well. So
Cool.
Yeah, be on the YouTube.
thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks you guys so much
Yeah.
for coming. It was great.
Why do
I
you
don't-
sound so sarcastic?
I don't know. I didn't mean to sound
It's been-
sarcastic.
A blah.
It's been so great. Wow. No.
It's on Instagram.
This is getting posted on YouTube.
All right, I'll stop the
We
recording.
did. Yeah, you can cut the end out. It's not being live streamed.
No. And we genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah.